Blessings and welcome back to another installment of the Gospel in the Stars. Today I am going to review the Pleiades, which is the star cluster, and in the constellation of Taurus. And so, what I can tell you that I do know for sure, the understanding that came to me is Taurus is not actually represented by a bull. It is the ox head, which represents father, and it is the Aleph in the pictograph. This is what it looks like, and it is an ox head, and it represents father, headship, being yoked, being taught, strength, and power. And it also represents the father and the son, the Aleph and the Tau. So last week we went over the Revelation 12 sign and how it represents the birth of Jesus and what went on in that time. So there are a couple ways that Taurus can be looked at. Well, specifically the seven star cluster within Taurus. It represents the 7 days of creation. It's showing Father is the ultimate authority in everything, and each cluster within the seven represents each day of creation. So the other way that you can look at it, depending on the season that it falls in, is the seven churches in the book of Revelation, and their coming destruction, which has already happened. If you know, you know. So this is just a little quick overview to kind of give you guys an idea of the story that's being told up there. Um, Again, I just want to restore Father's truth and make sure all of this glorifies Him. This is not about me. This is not about what the enemy has done to corrupt everything. I want to restore Father and his creation's intended purpose, right? In Genesis 1:14, it says, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So there is a purpose behind everything that has been put into scripture, and everything that is written in the heavens, they correlate into one another. The gospel truly is written in the stars. And if you go look at the definition of the gospel, it's not just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's the entire Bible, not just some small piece. It's the whole thing is good news. It's not it's not just one portion, and I'm of the opinion that you need to understand the old to understand the new. They are all interconnected and woven together. There's one major point that I want to state and needs to be addressed, which is the Bible does tell the beginning to the end, but there are parts missing. We are living in a portion that is currently being written. I don't know how else to explain this other than obviously the story isn't over. There is a few things that are still to come, but we need to understand our part in it. Okay, so this is kind of veer off a little bit from the gospel in the stars, but it still needs to be stated. Um, Mainstream Christianity, churchianity, whatever, however you want to address it and call it, leads us to believe that the story is done and the prophets, and there's no more spiritual gifts or anything. And if you actually go up and research what the word prophet is, it really means a professor of the truth, of speaking Father's truth. So any one person can actually be a prophet as long as they are speaking the truth. It's not always about things that are going to be happening in the future. So this is something really important that we need to understand. I personally have experienced spiritual gifts and miracles that have happened in my own life. Um, and that's a whole nother story for another time. But, just because man said that this is where it ends and we're going to stop it here in the book of Revelation doesn't mean that more is not being written and we don't play a part in that. Maybe we do play a part in that, right? Someone sat, the apostles, their scribes or whatever, and wrote the stories of the people around them and what was going on. The only reason why we don't accept that as something being done today is because the Bible was presented to us by man, and they're telling us that it's over. But I know that it's not over. Sorry, I'm like getting really emotional. I can just feel the spirit moving right now, and it's give me a moment. Sorry. I needed to really collect myself there for a moment. Our stories are still being written. Um, who's to say that it's not supposed to be added and written in a book in a sort of way? All of us that are on here making videos in YouTube is another type of bookkeeping, something being scribed and written in the form of video instead of pen to paper. Um, it's just something that we need to take into consideration, um, because the story isn't over, right? Obviously we're still here. There's not a new heaven and a new earth, and we haven't been judged yet. So I just think it's really important to keep an open mind, but not so open that our brain falls out. But in the same effect, we all play an important role in the coming kingdom. And it's important that we remember that and what we're supposed to be looking for and looking to, which is Jesus and the kingdom. So with that being said, back to the constellation Taurus and Father's divine power over everything. We just need to remember that all of it points back to him. Every single thing that we do and every single thing that we say will all be given an account for. And I just want to do my part in making sure that it glorifies Father, everything that I've said and done. We need to not be afraid of these things and realize what was written in the heavens is also for us. It's not just for the people that were living in that time. In the post that I wrote today, I talked about how the Magi actually used the star to see that Jesus was actually born and that the King of Kings was here, and they followed it to find him. That's just another example of the gospel being written in the stars. And so here's like a little quote that I want to leave you with that I wrote up. Um, Those in the distant past looked at the luminaries to see the future coming of Jesus. Those during the time of Jesus looked at them to see that he arrived in the present. We alive now should be looking at them to see the past, and we can see how Jesus died and rose again on the third day. Father set apart the signs in the firmament for his glory, the crown on his creation, where we live and he placed us. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that Jesus is the crown of all. He bears the crown that matters. I'm just speaking in a covering, like a metaphor, right, of what's on top of us and where we live. Every single thing was created with a purpose. And I really think that we should do our best to restore Father's creation and everything's original purpose. So I will leave you with that today. Again, I'm sorry, I'm always all over the place, but you guys have a blessed day, and I will, hopefully, I will willing, make another installment. I just want to also state here really quick is this is not a new concept. There have been other people that have talked about the gospel in the stars or the Mazarot constellations, and have done a way better job than I have or will ever do. They have been studying it much, much longer than me. Um, I only want to share little insights in things that have been revealed to me. Um, I am not the originator of this at all whatsoever, but it speaks to me on a level that Father knows that I'm going to understand because he meets every single person where they're at. And uh, he knows that my head has always been up in the stars. And, I know why now. It's been that way my whole entire life. So, anyway, enough rambling. You guys have a blessed day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.